This is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster. So, the end of this is making of. This will be making of story 3. Yeah. I'm gonna write story 3, and it's not on a time crunch to get any of that done before the early May events. Just the script. That's all. But after the early May events, we have to. But yes, there is a. We're going to do a third one. We've chosen a title after a Lost Silly Trek episode that we discarded back in the 80s, and then tried to. It was rewritten a couple times as 2 different ones. So and we've done a version of this kind of story before. This is the. We did not intend this season to do in Star Trek. We didn't intend to do a trilogy of stories, or we didn't intend to do a season of 8 episodes. This is like doing a season of 6 technically, because each one is 45 minutes and they're stuck together. 2 45-minute ones became the Valentine one. 2 45-minute ones became the other one. So this is after my thoughts on of this other story, but leading up to the next one. Yes, there is so much going on in the premise for the last episode that I watched yesterday. It's now posted. The Sarah Esteban episode. We need to do another one. We need to follow up on the plot threads in this one, and there's enough easily to do another one. So finally give Tam and Kestra something to do. Yeah, the last episode was what's called a bottle show. It took place mainly on the ship. We wanted to introduce the backstory of not only why it was important for a version of Nick Locarno and a version of Cito Jackson to live in the Silly Trek universe. It was paramount to the 3 of the main characters in the show. They had to live. They had to come back so they could be rescued along with Nick Locarno on that prison planet. So I decided to do an episode where, even though in the movie that's just mentioned offhandedly, Tuvok interviews them on Deep Space Nine. It's always been sort of a spin-off of Deep Space Nine, the whole series. Chimera and all the others, spin-off Deep Space Nine. We had enough film footage left over from our model that we used that in the new one. We had to get some footage from Star Trek Online, a few seconds of the Enterprise G, from one of the Star Trek Online game things, Bill Krauss Starship. It's similar to ours, but we didn't want to use ours. We wanted to use his, because that's what it looks like. So yeah, and there's a Klingon bird of prey from Vision, and there was said to be another Institute's Trek model, but we didn't use that. The warbird is actually from Next Generation. In that scene, for a few seconds, there's a warbird. It's from Next Generation, so it's probably from another game. It could be. The other shot of the warbird appears to be from Star Trek Fleet Command. The Fleet Command models, so 2 games. No relation to the people that used to be at Online, although they probably had something to do in the background. So here we have, we have Esteban story. Wanted to do a story. It wasn't official that Sarah Esteban is literally based on Soledad Rosas, but loosely inspired by, kind of character. And not to be confused with the Soledad Rosas from the 90s, but rather the one from the 2000s, who is not the famous activist, but the one named for the famous actor. Kind of like Cleveland Booker being named for the other guy, the other show. Kind of like that. Yeah, a little bit like that. That whole idea had Soledad, I think it stemmed from a Steve Shives video where he talked about why there totally could be disabled people in Star Trek, and here's who they are, basically. We decided, we could do that too. And and it's an interesting twist of fate that the reason so it's a reverse Wrath of Khan, in that the trope of the evil admiral taking over the ship would be flipped on its head, and she would be the hero saving the ship. And also, we would meet an evil admiral, but she'd be actually the other guy. She'd be O. We wanted to redo the O battle. So did. I think it succeeded. Sarah Esteban is therefore the great grandchild of T.J. Esteban from Star Trek 3, who was killed in his 40s. We're assuming he had a child, and then another one, and then another one, and he is a descendant of the Estebans. His last name is like J.T. Esteban Jr. Yeah. So yeah, J.T. Esteban the third's daughter, granddaughter. Yeah. So yeah. Yes. So yeah, there's some other stuff that's kind of goofy in there. I was looking over also the hosts of Tau, Javan Tal, and all that. Well, this is what it kind of looks like. It looks like Ezri a little bit. But I'm looking at that too, yeah, going like, oh, what would happen if like there was a future timeline where I'm kind of done with the Esteban thing. That's kind of done. Yeah, that's what I was doing, and I think we succeeded with the Esteban thing in that we had, and then I put that together, and it had Nicola Carnowaka, and then the gag being that actually the Carno from the other timeline is the one that canceled Lower Decks, because he was mad that his character was killed and made it to a Genesis planet. So but that could lead to other things. And what was the experiment? What were they doing on the planet? Why were the Cardassians making Romulans, and Romulans maybe making other Romulans? And why was kind of is connected to that in a way. So the experiments the Cardassians were working on with the Romulans until they broke up during the Dominion War was a plot to destroy the Federation, of course, from within, by replacing them with some sort of changeling people that they would make themselves, the Cillian changeling people. So they would make the changeling Q / they were going to use technology to make perfect spies, basically. So they're going to use technology, and they were going to like go in there and you're like, okay, instead of like, the Scooby-Doo mask Mission Impossible thing where the guy's going to smell funny or walk differently, he's not really going to be a clone of the other guy. You're going to be able to tell the guy's wearing a mask. Now, what would happen if they made that mask so good, and that guy is so good, they literally made a DNA clone of the other person, so the other person looks like them in every way, and send a clone in to do stuff. Then it wouldn't be as, they would pass all the tests in the Starfleet medical. You couldn't get in there. In order to do that, they had Cillian powers. So in the story, the premise is that they had done that. They succeeded, and I like how all the nods are in there and everything. And it is a love letter and sympathy card to Deep Space Nine. It is on its own a pilot in a way. Second pilot. It's really cool. I like it. It's not just saying that, but it would be a great, if you wanted to do Star Trek 13 and they decided, okay, we're going to let Terry Matalas direct Star Trek, if they weren't going to do that, call it Star Trek Legacy and use that story. Just use that story, just verbatim, just use it. Put a starship like the Chimera A out there, goes out to stop Commodore O. And they have a disabled captain, and they discover the mysteries of the colony cloning project, and they bring back Andrew Robinson as Garrick, bring back Sadiq Fidel and Kieran Reese, show Deep Space Nine. If you did that, all the fans would poop themselves. They would just Star Trek is back, yes, they would be excited. They'd be very excited. But yes, Star Trek is back in my fan films. But yes, and then, well, I don't know if they pooped themselves. Maybe if they were German, but yeah, that was really good. Reverse Wrath of Khan, subvert expectation. That's also how to subvert expectation. You think she's going to be the bad guy and she's the good guy. You think she's going to be the spy or something. And it's also a nod to, because it is a parody, it is a nod to Nemesis. Like, it's a better version of Nemesis. It's like the older Captain Picard is facing the younger Captain Picard, as a Romulan bad guy in the story. But she's wearing the face of the other Rolaren clone. So she's the younger. It's a better version of Star Trek Nemesis. It's like a rewrite of it, but better. Like, oh, this actually makes sense now. Yeah, it's kind of fun. Yeah, it's just the right amount of characters. I was talking about that with the Discovery review. The right amount of character development for each of our heroes. It's a simple story, but it's an interesting story. It ends with a space battle for 7 minutes. And we finally get, gets it. She gets nailed. Because that ending was silly and it was tacked on and they threw in Riker. Oh, she's done. She's dead. Very, very, very dead. And that stops her fleet. And also, it could be a tie-in to other stuff. What are the Cillians, the Cillian overlords doing on that planet? Why is there another Ceto clone? Ceto's killed in the story. Again. She's killed heroically, though, defending the thing from... Well, she kind of heroically. I mean, the Klingon guy shoots at her and she shoots at him. But it's like, okay, that's a little more heroically than she died in the Next Generation episode. But there's another version of her out there. And this other version of her out there is on this other sequence. And she's like, wait a minute, I did all this. I did this plan for you, quit killing my clones. Only to have Holocat show up. She thinks Holocat is me. Kal Hazel or whatever. Kal Kat, you know. And it's not. It's my doppelganger. And he's like, oh, I'm Holocat. Actually, he says, I'm Batman. And then he goes, actually, I'm Holocat. She's like, I died for you. So it's a joke that my character is not the hero in the story. He's the bad guy. He doesn't seem to care either way. He's like, hey. So yeah, if they do a crossover with my fan films and on any one of these shows, I will be happy to appear as myself. That would be weird. It'd be like, oh, in this episode of like Strange New Worlds, I just walk in just randomly in the lounge, just walk in and go, who's that guy? Oh, I don't. Some fan guy wanted to be on the show. Be on the Ready Room. Hi, Will Wheaton. Yeah. So you're the one that wrote about me in The Traveler. Yes, I did. Can't take all the credit for that. Half of that's Mark Scar. And yeah, you were with The Traveler. Admit it. Oh my. Listen, yes, because if you want to do gay or bi characters in Star Trek, just do it. It's the future. Nobody should care about an eyelash if two of them were like, oh my. Well, certainly the most slashiest season. But anyway, on to the other stuff. Whatever this is. On to the other stuff. We have I'm going to write a script for part 3. I started writing it, and it's going to involve Q, and it's going to be similar to the episode Parallels, Next Generation, and the Voyager one with the tripping through time 7 of 9 who goes to the other, not Timeless, but the other one. Or they're like going through time and there's like older versions of some of the characters in it and newer ones, but they're in the same timeline. So yeah. I doctored up some of the characters, and thrilling conclusion, so to speak, of the season for 2 episodes. Yeah, so it's of these 6 episodes to get to the end of this. Sure, there will be other fan films. This one was not done by Queen Bee Studios. Queen Bee Studios completely went under. It wasn't really a thing. It was just a fan thing. On Location Cats and Slick Otter stepped in for that last episode to continue once again doing what we do. And moving things around and putting the sets in better places. The bridge set does need a little adjustment to the back walls and stuff, and what it is. If you're going to use it again, use it sparingly. Even though we built it, I don't want another bottle show necessarily. Space battle might be a little awkward because we don't have a lot of footage of that. We can't. Even though we have some footage, can't risk putting it all in there. There's a few seconds of it's fine in terms of parody and fair use. It's not music or anything. So originally when editing it, we had the soundtrack playing fast forward. There was a fast forward soundtrack. It didn't sound right. We dropped in the old soundtrack from the previous one, which was backwards and slower. That one worked better. Yeah, you want it to be creepy and weird because it's creepy and weird, but it's funny. Yeah, I don't want it to be overly funny, but creepy and weird. It's a mystery. Mom would have approved. It's yet again another episode where it is as if we were writing a Star Trek story together. Because yeah, why not? And the third one, like the Transformer one we just did, kind of similar, where that showed a distant future where they had to go back and fix it, and they figured out a way to retcon it back to their time period. This would sort of kind of follow along the same lines, but in a different way. Yeah, the minor characters get something to do. Yeah, because we had the major characters leading the other story. Yeah, the lower decks caused the ripple effect in the timeline. It messed up what we want to do with the characters. I get why some fans want the Shannon Phil the Cedo thing to be done indefinite and say, okay, she died heroically. She didn't die heroically, though. She died like a red shirt. It wasn't a heroic death at all. And Locarno's death in it that is weird in that other episode. So Lower Decks is Silly Trek. It's a version of the multiverse, which is evident from those short treks where Tendi appears in those two. Yeah. So yeah, it's Discovery is set in the Cillian universe. Then it makes sense. There's not really Klingons. There's some weird pseudo Klingons. I don't know what those were. Yeah, why don't they just hire us? That'll be better. Yeah, the Discovery show is shot weird. I'm not sure why. Like a big budget show with probably at least 20 million a season. It looks like with that wraparound screen technology, can't do camera shots and angles in there. It's like I have that problem with my home cameras right here. I refurbished this one. And it's like, cleaned it up. Testing the card. And got a new card. So, wasn't very expensive. It was cheap. They're all cheap now. They don't really sell them anymore. It was cheap. But yeah, so it's new, but it's, yeah, it's cheap. Anyway, so, yeah, so I thought of some new ideas. I was looking up the different hosts of the Dal symbiote as part of the story. And you can switch things around a little if you want to, because it's Silly Trek. Yeah, and it looks like Javor Tal is not his official name. It's like his unofficial name. It's the guy from the Picard era that's the second host of Tal. And we know a lot about him from a couple episodes. So, yeah, to see some of him again. But the one after him is somebody that looks a lot like the Dax lady. And what if it is? What if Tamara Locarno becomes the third host of Javor Tal, and then it jumps like 600 years into the future, because it would have to, because he only has 7 hosts. And we've met 3 of the other hosts from the future timeline. So there's a jump of 600 years in there. So yeah, in the other timeline, a version of Chimera shows up and goes, "I'm Chimera Tal," and yeah, Javor died, and I became the next host of him. Oh, that would make sense if she did that. And since her first host was a Kestra sounding Castor Tal, the first one was a similar name to Kestra. Kind of makes sense. It kind of goes with it. So we're gonna do a Tam and Kestra movie. Yay! Finally, the characters get something to do, similar to the Pine Hill one, and similar to the time travel one. It's not time travel though. It's Q. He's messing with it. So it's gonna tie into Star Trek Online a little bit, because the Klingon Civil War that happened, the second Klingon Civil War, was 2406, and that's right now, to 2410. So. But in this other timeline, so we have a future version of Kestra who comes back at the teaser of the second story, and she's like, I've got to help the Chimera A because the timeline is skewed. and every comedy should end with a wedding. So it opens with one. Two people get married. It's not like the Molly and Mirrol though. It's Vince Mahoney is finally marrying Captain Crass, and in the story. So yes. So yeah. So that's the opening scene, and I wrote the teaser and a few other stuff. It shouldn't take that long to write an episode, and we don't need to shoot it before the late May stuff. But we're really far ahead with this other story, and I can do it in a week if I had to, if I wanted to. What else to do? Just like I did this one in a week. Yeah. Like yeah. Oh, so yeah. Yeah. It's not like the sets are going to disappear or something. So check things out. Anyway, so that was the idea. So the future. So it's kind of like that Janeway episode too, Endgame, where she goes back and she does that. It's also like the Dax. I want to do the Dax one too. The All Good Things kind of gag, because it is a parody. So it's going to like reference member berries everywhere. And I've decided to call it Yesterday Became Tomorrow, which is the title of this old Cillian episode. And in that one, it had a similar plot to that. 1988 though. So it was before all of that. It was a similar plot to the second season episode, Shades of Grey. And it was spoofing that in that episode. It's kind of like that, except it's not a clip show though. So it's all entirely new footage. I didn't want to have flashbacks where we see young Kirk and young Picard or anything goofy like that, or have other characters introduced that basically would fill time. No, I want to show what could happen in the other timeline without necessarily a space war. Put them on planets in meeting rooms and do blogs again. Easy to film, easy to shoot. Here's what they're doing. It's essentially a planet / ball show again, but less. Yeah, so there's some ideas in there. Well, why were the last episode? What was the Borg Jennifer doing? Yeah, what was she up to? Last time we saw this Borg Jennifer, she was our version of Girardi, the Borg Jennifer, and she takes the original Borg Queen lady who got humanized to the stars, to the Cillian universe. Which was a nice nod to the actress who died. The actress who died after the Picard show, who played the Borg Queen in that episode in the second season, and it's now 2024, so it does line up with the. So are they fish out of water kind of thing too, or a little bit of an homage to that, or not, or do they go back to 2024 on Earth? Is that what they're doing? Maybe not. I don't think it involves Cillian Earth really. That would be a little weird if they were just like down on Cillian Earth. But so anyway, that's just some ideas that was floating around. I was like, do that. I want to do Esri. I want to do a scene where at least Esri Rakarnov, not Nick, is in a scene where they go to a version of the Continuum, and Q is there, and he goes like, "You're dead." I think we need to do that. That gag. That needs to be funny. You're dead again. All good things must come to an end. Ah, damn it. Ah, but yeah, the whole Cillian story. Yeah, the fan films. They're always a love letter to Star Trek every time. And yeah, and we discovered after the fact, ex post facto. Ex post facto. Discovered after the fact that Soledad Rosas had passed away in 2016, and so I was all like, oh well, I got to reference it to her. Yeah, so I added that to them. Anyway, so this is just some more making of. This is the thoughts on the other story and the next one, which could go into production since everything is cool right now. Why not? It's not hot yet. It's April 26th, the set of a fan film. March Cards was here yesterday, and this was nearly half done, and I finished it. It was a little over half done. And so we have a script. We have a script, and I looked it over and I edited it. And so we have a script, so let's do it again. The arrival of everybody is May the 6th officially, May the 7th. And it is the 26th now. So it's a week, a little over a week. It's possible to film it, but maybe not to render it and put it up. We can do it. So we don't have to. It'd be fun to do it. Why not? There's nothing else going on. And kind of everybody else is out of money. So nothing else to do. So let's do a story. The title came to yesterday became tomorrow. The title of a very old Silly Trek story from the Silly Trek role-playing game, which was a story that took place between the events of Silly Trek Season 1 and Silly Trek Season 2, roughly 87-88 to 88-89, and a long time ago. And it was a story that was done as a novella. It was nonsensical, all in upper caps, and it was rejected. So I thought it would be fun to redo that story idea. The premise of the story idea and the other sequels and stuff that were put out rapidly, because I was always a prolific, but not necessarily a great writer back then at 17, 18. That rewrite the story, the premise of the story. So the Next Generation was relatively new then, and they did time travel stories that were similar since during the series. So let's do like parallels and things like that. I didn't write parallels. I didn't write the other one. I didn't write cause and effect. Nothing to do with that. It's just similar. And the idea of future time travelers, going to meet the members of the crew. Parallels is one of those episodes where they were basically cribbing from Silly Trek, because we did that several times, even in the second season in 88, 89. I'm counting those as first and second season, even though technically the unofficial first season was like 86, 87, before the Next Generation, and then when the Next Generation started in October 87. But the official two seasons were the 87, 88, 88, 89, or my junior year of high school, or my senior year of high school. A long time ago. So this one story, Yesterday Became Tomorrow, was a story premise where we, like some of the other previous ones, the Terminal Encounter, whatever, that just predated it, the pilot. The premise was that us as cadets in Starfleet got visited by ourselves as captains in Starfleet, as 30-something captains, as teenagers. And we were, of course, really, really crunchy and old at 37, which I find amusing at 53. That's hilarious. So that'd be pretty funny to do. What happened if I rewrote that as a contemporary Chimera story? Because it was rejected. It was rejected in the summer of 88. So I had to go in another direction with season 2, partly because Henry, one of the main characters, was not coming back. And so, yeah, he wanted his character to be killed. And that's what we wanted, his character to be killed in the story. So yes, a main character in Silly in Space does die. 2 of them do. And that's consistent with the episode. But the story was rejected. And the replacement, it's sort of the replacement for Henry, the next season over, was Mike Van Dam. Henry Brister and then Mike Van Dam. And so we're all like, we're going to replace him. It wasn't really a replacement. It was more like, it wasn't a show. Our fan series role-playing game thing was not really a show. It was us playing on a playground doing the Star Trek stuff. Just so happens this other new kid was in the same venue as Henry would be. So the silly, hyperactive kid. Slightly shorter than us, but actually about the same age. And he He had the Henry knack. He was a little more bizarre. So he became Mad Mav, the Andorian Tribble, because he loved Star Trek. He wanted to be an Andorian Tribble. And you've seen a Mad Mav in Star Trek Chimera. We put him in locations. He's in there. So he has appeared already, being played by the not the Bolian, but the guy with the Mentot guy. He's playing the Mentot guy. But yeah, this has nothing to do with Discovery, this current season at all. Doesn't have anybody from Discovery in it. Don't worry about it. It's not Mirror Universe really in the story, because there was enough material in the last one to do this. The material in the last one, well, we can't just leave it there. It's too much cliffhanger. That it wasn't intended cliffhanger, but there was this goofy little scene. I'm like, no, let's wrap that up. Wrap the season up with a 2-part story. This is essentially a 2-part story, 2 45-minute episodes stuck together to make 90 minutes. And yes, it very clearly is a one of those 2-parters at the end, beginning of G&G seasons. It has some interesting changes for the cast and crew, most of which are semi-permanent. So we get used to everybody. One of the things that set the story into motion is that if you look up Javar Tal or Tal or Grey Tal, the Trill symbiote of Tal from Discovery, that's why it's a little bit connected to Discovery. He has 7 hosts, the first one of which is apocryphally called Castra, which sounds like Kestra, and the second one is Javar, or Javan Tal. The third one is unnamed, but she looks a little like Ezri Dax. So I thought, hey, it's not Ezri Dax. It's Ezri Dax's daughter. This story establishes Tal's third host. So now you know Tal is going to buy it, and his host is going to be replaced by Tamara Tal. Hence, the title is also a reflection of that episode, which was rejected, but now accepted because I rewrote it, and as an adult. And I realized what I was doing. And Tamara and Tomorrow, the name is sort of a kind of an anagram for itself. So she literally is yesterday became tomorrow is her. It's an episode about Tam and Kestra. Yes, finally. Yes, they are in it, and I had to keep from making other people go in it too. Today, when I rewrote the second half, I was like, okay, less Picard and Worf and the alleged supposed future Klingon war and all that stuff. You don't need any of that. You're trying to write a finale, not a new season. So I had to no, the finale, not a new season. We're just gonna do a finale and have our main characters, just our dozen main characters. That's it. Our bridge crew. We've got Nog in it. We've got Nog as the fleet captain, and every comedy should end with a wedding. So there's a wedding in it. Vince Mahoney and Crass get married in the story. So yes, reminiscent of that other wedding from the Planet of the Fallen Ones story. Yeah. So this is a very good rewrite. It's awesome. So I'm going to film this, and yeah, I like that it's a Q Junior episode as well, a little bit. And future Kestra and future Camp, they show up to help them. And I like that it doesn't resolve everything. I like that what Q does in the story is more like that episode with Amanda Q, the True Q episode, and not everything is solved. I like that idea. So it's still a little screwed up at the end. And that's fine, because everything does what they're doing. Anyway, that's my review. That's my... I have a script. Let's do this. It is I think the 27th. It's Saturday. And I did 15 pages or 15 minutes of script. It's typical of a typical Saturday, even though we got started late. Wanted to make sure some figures had to dry, some walls had to dry, little touch-ups here and there. I wanted to make sure everything was not wet. It would have been gross. So everything started production at about 5, somewhere around there, I think, and filming And so far it's coming together. There is a brief bridge scene to be filmed tomorrow, but I'm not going to do that scene now. The bridge scenes in this are very brief because there's no space battle. The next bridge scene is like the other one. It's a minute. It's 1 page, 1 minute. They're on bridge, and then they're going to go to the meeting room. It's a similar meeting room, similar scenes. It's sort of reminiscent of Critical Vitriol, the episode with the Groundhog Day stuff going on. In that, they kind of do bridge meeting, alien realm meeting kind of thing. But it's not really time travel. They're in their present, and everything is present. They're visited by time travelers, and they go to places where time travelers go. So it's like that one. It's like Parallels from the Next Generation. It's like The Visitor, Deep Space Nine. That one with Orion, and the station blows up, and the other comes back. Time traveling thing. It's like Timeless with the Rasmussen, the time traveler, which had the Apple scene. But yeah, again the Apple scene, and then stuff like that. The Cillian dissidents in the story are some of those disenfranchised leftover Cillians. After we left, we left to some of the because the Q reality of that universe in the story, that their thoughts create reality, and their friends or acquaintances get included in the story. Well, what happens if the acquaintances don't want to be in the story, but they're there anyway? What would they do? It's kind of an interesting idea. The extra alleged teenagers that are now adults, or that kind of thing. So what do they do? How do they get about? Are they mad, or are they not mad because they were left behind? They didn't mean to be sent there. Yeah, so it's kind of like the idea of like, how do other Qs go about being Qs? How do other universes go about being universes? What's that about? We don't necessarily see the continuum in this story, but we do see the celestial realm and all that, and we do. I do figure out a way for Kira to fight Kai Wynn. It's not time travel though. What happens is I'll get later in the story. We'll get to that, but that's later. And basically, she gets killed by the bad guys. The bad guys kill her, and Kira gets transported to the afterlife, to Cisco's afterlife temple. And guess who's there? Kai Wynn. They immediately start duking it out across space and time. But yes, of course, because they would. But yeah. So something like that, is a good gag. That's fine. The Muriel Paris character is not the bad guy. A changeling has assumed her identity. Like in that Bashir episode where Bashir was a changeling, they figured out he was a changeling. He's going to destroy that star. That one episode, the DS9. It's kind of like that. Other people from other facets of the universe are trying to meet up with them and help them, like Future Kestra and Q Junior there. But it's not necessarily that they're testing them. It's that they're giving them hints into their universe to help them figure it out. Which is an interesting idea. I like how that's going so far. It seems to be fine. And we're doing another episode before the stories. I don't know if we're going to be putting it together necessarily, but we'll have another episode in the can, probably right about when all that other stuff happens. And then the other family stuff arrive on Saturday, next Saturday, next Saturday and Sunday. Not tomorrow, but next week. I think you can probably get it done if you start early enough filming it. Not tomorrow because it's Sunday, but yeah, easily. Unless some weird event happens, I got another half an hour tomorrow. Just do another half an hour of it. Just shoot it. Because it's really easy. You're just doing the next scene. Switch over to the set. Next scene. Switch over to the set. Next scene. Well, so far we haven't switched over any of the other sets. We have them. They're sitting there. We're not. The bridge is in the kitchen. But yeah, it's too dark to film in the kitchen right now, so I'm going to do that. Yeah, so the it's not exactly time travel; it's dimensional travel, and I do parallel universes a little different than Marvel and Back to the Future and DC. The way I do the parallel universes and multiverses is as I set it up so that the show don't tell works, as opposed to the DC ones where they tell a little too much and they just don't show it as much. They need to. They need to. Yeah, you just establish that the trick to a good sci-fi fan film story, implicit in stuff like some of the newer stuff. There was a new Calkins Foley thing. This came up, a new nod to Lower Decks, where it's a very simple short episode where where they do something like that, where they have a character, she appears on a bridge because they have a bridge set apparently, and some green screens, probably mostly green screens, and part of a bridge set, and they're able to pull that off, and they did a live action thing where Samuel Calkins' friend is there. I think it's his girlfriend. Pretty sure it's his girlfriend, and she's in it, and she's interacting with a computer that's sitting on the captain's chair. The computer, the evil computer guy, who is the voice of I think their dad is doing it over there. But yeah, but if they wanted somebody to do a Jeffrey Combs voice, I don't do bad a job at that. If they want to have him sound like. But yeah, but yes, they didn't ask me, but they could. Anyway, now it'd be kind of hard to do that. They're in England and Canada. Phone it in. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, it isn't that the Cillians got rid of Lower Decks because of the last season finale. I joked about that the last episode, but no, we had nothing to do with them wanting to cancel Lower Decks. It's silly track. We like Lower Decks. it's our. They're basically doing stuff that we totally would have done. That's what our fan films kind of are as well. So we'll keep doing these things. I mean, why not? And the Transformer ones. Yeah, well, this is not the final season of this. It was going to be the final season last season with the other show, because really it almost seemed seriously like we were literally gonna close down and go somewhere else, and that didn't happen. So that didn't happen. If it does happen, it's not the final season anyway. So Destinations was the final season of that, and this is sort of a continuation of the fan movies after that. And we just keep cranking them out. We just keep doing them and cranking them out like it's a series. We have the figures on the set. This set's been slightly modified to there was a lot of excess chaff at the top of the set, and the action figures are only 5 inches tall. You don't really need a ceiling, so cut the ceiling off. You're never going to go up there. The camera, it's never going to hit the ceiling. Some of the Klingon bridge set is here in the chapel / meeting room / other meeting room / bedroom / counseling office wall set where mainly you have close-ups and medium close-ups and not too many extreme close-ups like let's work right now, but you have a lot of close-ups and you don't need to know what the backgrounds look like. You don't really need to do that. Just to shoot the story on the fly. It's fan film. It's go motion. There's been very little go motion in this altogether so far. It doesn't matter where everyone's standing necessarily, unless it's a scene like you have the intruder on the bridge. You do need to show where she's standing because then it's dramatic. You see, but the counseling office, no, they're just on either side of the door. That's fine. The bedroom, they're on either side of the bed. I would have put them in the bed, but they're action figures and they don't lie down. The legs on the B'Elanna's Klingon figure there, Crass, they don't move. So yeah, she's kind of like it would look weird. So I cheated the scene they're just at the foot of the bed. They're like the foot of the bed. Q Jr. shows up between them. Maybe he's gonna join them. Oh my! And it's not like that hasn't happened before in Star Trek with Q doing stuff like that. It was Q Jr. though. Called him old man for some reason. Well, from Q Jr.'s perspective, having been an infant on Voyager, and then instantly like 20. And the next time they see him, because they aged him up for doing the age up joke, which we came up with in Next Generation. I said, do that joke in that episode, and we didn't come up with Q, but the age up thing came up with that. And so we have we have this goofy idea where he's just they aged him up because as a kid it would be like they couldn't hire a kid, so they aged him up. And Q, and he's messing around with them, but he's a contemporary of them, so he's because they were on the other station, and they're referring to the other station as well, the one from Critical Vitriol. So there's several. Yeah, they were all on that station after the wall, I think. On this other station, apparently the one from the first episode we meet Critical Vitriol. Yeah, that one. the critical guy. Yeah. So years ago. So it's a reference to that and that Q Junior and that station and that. So yeah, so there's some callbacks to our other stuff, which you can do as long as you can explain. Okay, the station. You can do callbacks to your stuff if you're already familiar with the stuff, right? Yeah. And And what's fun is now we get to since roughly 2022, we've been allowed to say a Star Trek fan film on our stuff. So excellent. They let up the copyright rules guidelines up a little more and said you can put Star Trek fan film on your. In fact, you should, just so we know it's not not monetized in any way or getting any revenue. You know this is a Star Trek fan film. Also, the algorithm will recognize your video more if you do that. Call it that. People will go to it. They won't know what Starship location is, but they will know what Star Trek fan film is, and they'll go to that. And since Legacy Part 1 has more views than any of the other previous seasons of Starship locations, because we started saying Star Trek fan film, basically, went back and retconned and said all of them are Star Trek fan film now. They all say that. But yes, in the comments, what are those? Not the little hints. What are those called? The things that the algorithm looks at. The little. You put in like Star Trek fan film on location and all that, and the little hints in there in the when you download the video so that it knows what you're doing. Hints. I can't think of the name. Blanking on the name. But yeah, so it knows where to go. Since the algorithm is all screwed up anyway, it's very screwed up. We used to have a lot more fans on those channels. So a lot of them disappeared. A lot of those subscribers disappeared. And so, that's the algorithm that closed down a bunch of channels. Thousands of them. I don't think there were ever tens of thousands of fans on the Chimera channel, but there were about 1,000 at one point. But no, not anymore. Now there's hundreds. And again, they're less than hundreds. There's less than hundreds on the other two as well. Something's going around with that. Yeah. But we still do them. We still do them because they're fun, and they're not monetized. So we're fine. So a slight script revision. It would have been confusing to have Karen Kim show up because she's Miral and she's two other people. So it's not. It's Miss Summer. It's Angelica. So it's Angelica, not Karen. All right. So anyway, so that's all I got to say about that. They changed the character of her to someone else because that makes more sense anyway. It makes more sense anyway. In the realm here. So let's film the realm scene. Yeah, not really Summer. It's a parody. It's Talisman, whatever her name is. Talisman, yeah. So we've done a little over another 15 minutes. And trucking along with this. So we're not done 15 minutes. A little over that. And I don't need to do much left over in the making of. Just recapping events would be silly. I decided to do that's one thing. The Chris and Libby were mixed up in the script, so we just made it Chris. So note that was changed. It's not Elijah, that's her sister. It's just another Elijah. It's her sister. Apparently she died and was taken to the beyond with the others.
So anyway, that's all that's going on there. I don't know if the real Chris is gone, but the Cillian version is. Anyway, so yeah, yeah, we won't go into any connections to any real people, living or dead. So we're not going to. Yeah, yeah, having realized, of course, that Esteban was loosely based on this other character, mentioned that another character. We mentioned that, but in passing, yeah, it's kind of a little cringe to keep her around. So the character was killed off in the script. But yeah, there's a little cringe. Yeah. No, Braun's okay, but he's in the afterlife in the story. So it's a little weird too, but a little less weird. Yeah, it's a difference between a guy being an afterlife force ghost or whatever, and a girl being a force ghost. It's just a difference. Yeah. Anyway, so not force ghost or whatever they are. Yeah, and sure, it's just a representation of what they're seeing. It's not a real thing. Obviously, it's fiction. It's all fiction. So yeah, yeah. So they're here on the, yeah. That's it for now. We can use the other camera to do some second unit on the rest of it. And keep going if you want it. It's not that late. Yeah. 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 So I'm stopping for the evening with this scene here, and yeah. Yeah. Had 7.5 hours of filming. That's enough for today. It's almost done with the whole first part, or Act 1 and half of Act 2. So, but yeah, these two other scenes are a little more complex, so I'm going to wait for them until tomorrow. We're going to stop here. So yeah. So here we are, a page away from finishing 45 pages. So we're going to do it. So here we go. And yeah, there was a possum in the yard. I didn't think to turn the camera on. I tried to go for the cell phone and it ran off when I went for the cell phone. It wouldn't start up for some reason. Yeah, there's a possum. The cat didn't seem to be at all fazed by it. He was just like, hey, there's a possum out here. Like, oh, but I don't think he can get under the house, but maybe it was passing through. I hope. Damn it. Oh. Okay, we have a scene pickup of Commander Lady before we leave. Hi, kitty. There's a kitty. And the scene pickup is just Dax and what's the dailies, and it's Dax and she, or Locarno, or whatever the heck her name is, and she is out of focus. We're addressing the people are missing part. I believe that is way earlier than this. So I got to find that. Keep it rolling. Yeah, this is, well, no. Okay, so brief making of, that's future Tamara Tal. And yeah, she's not a Starfleet officer, but she's Starfleet associated. And she has been there the whole time, the whole series. Yes, so let's film the story. This is the Emmett Till. It looks a lot like the Chimera. It's the Chimera bridge. It's just playing the Emmett Till. And yeah, let's do this. Okay. A reshot of a C'est La Vie's lines is going to happen right here. C'est La Vie's lines way back. Let's see. Okay, so we have done an incredible amount of filming tonight. We started on page 45 and made it to page 85. 40 pages. I'm going to stop for the evening. That's ridiculous. So tomorrow we'll finish up the movie film. We basically defeated the bad guy, but now we got to figure out why the timeline is still kind of messed up, because some people are still gone, and I changed the script slightly from the story because she just melts in the script because I didn't know what to do with the bad guy. So I made it a little punchier by having Q and Lessian show up in the background and have it be sort of a mysterious sort of, ooh, you never saw us here, Captain, kind of deal. which is more interesting. Yeah, and her morphing back into Lady Q, sort of another Dax figure, was an interesting idea too, because then you're basically saying like, oh, so it's a Q matter, and Q came back and he's like, you were never here. It was a Q matter, yes. But yeah, the universe is still screwed up, so we have to figure out how to fix the universe. Bring back Nog tomorrow. Have a meeting room scene, and then another bridge scene, and then the final scene in the movie, which is in the mess hall, where Kiriyoshi meets his future wife. And that's the end of the series right there. Well, the end of this season anyway. We ended up doing another season, but 6 episodes, broken up into 3 movies, and yeah, we're getting to the end of this one. And this one is a lot tighter. There's a tighter script. It's all silly Kelly. He just went through and just said, okay, we're just going to go boop, 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 boop. We're just going to do, when we get to the third one, it's always an equilibrium. The momentum just keeps snowballing, rolling along, So, yeah, I wanted to stop for the evening because I think I've been doing this for 12 hours. I think I need to stop. I think 12 hours is way longer than it should have been. But yeah, wow. Even a movie shoot with a cast would not spend a 12-hour work day just doing the thing. So we're gonna stop. Yeah, for tonight, and finish up the last 3 or 4. Yeah, there's like 6 pages left. There's like, I think it's page 82 that we ended on, or 83, but it's almost 84. But yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I don't need to add much more about the making of the story. They're so much mysterious as Lady Q is apparently a renegade, and the other future people are from the other timelines going through back and forth, and it's not as convoluted as it sounds. It's mainly a mystery story about things are acting goofy in the Federation. They have to go back to Earth and stop it, basically. Bejor as well. And we're assuming that the stuff where the timeline is completely skewed and people are dead, we're assuming that Q is going to kind of retcon that at the end. Kind of like with the Transformer story. But not as blatant, not as covering up like 15 years, but rather a few hours. It takes it back to a few hours earlier. Or a day earlier or something. So that we have the part where Chimera Locarno has to be formed, because that's supposed to be in there. That's supposed to be canon. But after that, it's up for grabs. Also I think it's cool that they Klingon Dax is Chimera Locarno with the future, at least one version of her, and because the third host of Javan, they skip another 500 years until there's another one. Well, the third host of Javan, she looks a little like Dax, and she's not a Starfleet officer, so we used that other one. Also, that's a cool nod because she's basically an alien who has appeared before in the Chimera Starship location series as another alien on the Klingon ship on the Kol ship and stuff. So, is she actually the future Dax? She's been pretending to be the other one, or is she the future Locarno? She's the future Locarno. Still Tam Locarno the whole time doing the Klingon lady. So she's been there the whole time, watching over the universe, like a deity or something. And also, the Mary Sue in the series is not so obvious. You'd think it's Dr. Pulaski. You'd think that it's whenever they have Dax, Ezra Dax's mom. No, Dr. Tabby is mom. Dr. Tabby's mom. Yeah, obviously. Here's Dad. But yeah, they flipped the races. Dad was more of a Romulan or a Vulcan, and Mom was more of a So that means Sheila V is kind of like a figure too. But he's just a little older than me in real life. So no, he's not. He'd be like a brother, or not really a brother. I don't know him that well, but an acquaintance from Trek Corps. There. I've seen him a few times. Yeah, because he lives around here. But I have not seen him at conventions, though. But at a toy convention, I did pick up on that. Anyway, so, yeah, the return of that guy was in there. It's not, though. It's Kal Kat playing voice. It's not him. That would be awesome, but no, it's not the real guy. So, anyway, that's all that for tonight.
This is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster. Welcome to the last day of principal photography on Starship, Chimera, The Legacy. That was the final one. Yeah, we finished production on the film. Well, I'm assuming there's an after show kind of thing. Probably. Maybe not. We did another one. Now I have to put it together. And it will be the 1st of May tomorrow. And I was sure should be able to put it together. Yeah, before everyone shows up. So that's what's gonna be done. And yeah, we cranked out another one in a week. So Silly Kelly one, there was a lot less fluff. There's not as much stuff in here. Came up with a scene that's added to the movie where we pay homage because the Discovery and the Stranger Worlds has done it, paying homage to their own people. Sure, we'll put a little a gag in there, though, poignant gag. They will lose their minds. So there's a scene in there. We established that the Tomorrow's Yesterday poem. I think that isn't a mom poem, but she said it. So, but I think she got it from somewhere. But yeah, that's where the title comes from. Yeah. But yeah, that's been known since the '80s. In the that's the poem's from. Yeah, it could be. It's not. I don't think it's Shakespeare though. I think it's somebody else. Anyway, so yeah. So I got it finished. Did the scenes. We have a cameo. Well, sort of cameo. The Pulaski character is playing mom, but really. Really, Tabby is supposed to be mom too. So there's 2 of them in there. But yeah, the Pulaski scene was that made more sense because that makes more sense. That's closer to. So that scene with that is supposed to be a nod to mom. But yeah, it's not part of the story, but it's fun that Picard remembers it and the other one does. That's cute. I like that. And she became a doctor in Star Trek instead of just a nurse. A doctor, okay. And told the story to Dr. Crusher, going back to 1987, 88, 89, when Dr. Crusher was a Starfleet Medical. Back to the origins of all that. And also the Sylvia and Ilana LaForge action figures were melting and coming apart, so we didn't use them this episode. Took the painting off of them. Also off of the Tendi, and then just kind of reglazed her face, and it looked weirdly. So we explain why her face is constantly melting off. That's kind of messed up. Let's explain that Sarah Esteban's character is written out, because post doing the last episode, he looked up the character she's loosely based on, Soledad Rosas, who was from San Jose State, not the other one from decades earlier, and a decade earlier. It's not that one. And she passed away. So we did an episode where we had to, and this one she kind of gets taken to the ethereal realm and stuff. So the Cillians downloaded her to the Cisco/realm/thing, and there she's in there forever. They want to have her returned at some point if they want. The Cillians can bring her back. There's a misnomer that's prevalent in culture about disabled students and people and characters in question, saying that if they were only cured and they were normal, they would be all right. No, it's not how that works. They don't necessarily want to be normal. They want to be treated normally. Yeah, that was the point of the Steve Shives story as well. But I said it better. They want to be treated normally. Everyone else, they don't get special treatment unless they need the special treatment, right? It's not special treatment to just give them normal lives and treat them right. That's not special treatment. That's treatment. If somebody in a wheelchair needs a wheelchair ramp, sure, they have a wheelchair ramp. If somebody needs tactile computer technology to do something, to give them that. That's not special treatment. Special treatment is like a conservative buzzword they use to basically take advantage of people. that don't understand that. Yeah. So yeah, yeah, she saw that it wouldn't be about like being the character of Esteban's character wouldn't be about. Well, the character wouldn't be about curing herself, but if it happened to happen, that would be fine. No, she was about finding the cure for other people in the story. She had a version of MS, and it's apparently prevalent. Well, actually, no, she wasn't MS. She was cerebral palsy. Yeah, just cerebral palsy, which just means brain trauma, basically. Yeah, but yeah, they're. So you have what you could get from an at-birth trauma, you could get from something else, you get from an accident, something else. Yeah, you could get that from a lot of stuff, but literally, like they do brain trauma. So and other things. It's a spectrum, just like everything. A lot of things are a spectrum. So yeah, this story doesn't have as much of a message, but it's mainly a cute, fun story. It's sort of connecting to the other one. It's sort of a season finale. We did 6 episodes this season, set up into 3 movies. So 3 45 to 50-minute movies stuck together. Wanted to do a trilogy and finished it, and now put it together. And they go back to the events of the other stories, pay homage to some of those, but mainly I was trying to do a Tam and Kestra episode, and it is mainly a Tam episode. And the idea came from looking at some of the ideas came from looking at the apocryphal and B canon and A canon stuff of Tal, the symbiote, who lives in the 32nd century. But there were earlier symbiotes that were dressed in uniforms and stuff from the 2400s. So clearly there's a large gap there of like 800 years. So what happened, in between there, the 24th and the 32nd century. But what happened in there in there where there was a gap, because they only said it's his 7th symbiote. His 7th symbiote is Gray. And then Dira is the 7th one. So Gray is the 6th one. The Admiral before Gray is the 5th one. And then they jump back 800 years back to who were the first 3, basically. Well, the first 3 were Castra, who sounds like Kestra, Javar, Tal, who we see the end of his life in the story. Actually, the character develops in the end of his life in the story. Javar, and the third one is Chimera, Tal, and we were going to do that from the beginning of the series. There was going to be something like that happening. We were seeing an ancestor of Adira in Chimera. And Tamara Locarno, an ancestor of Adira, or making her related to Ezra Dax. Yeah, which is kind of cool because she looks a little like her, the daughter of Ezra Dax. I also wrote out Locarno and Dax from the story because they were just too problematic. But it's silly track, and they totally could return if they needed to. Also set up the time guys, Lexley and Lillette. We have also even that far back. There's a lot of thought put into this, an autistic level of thought, autistic and artistic level of thought, went back and said like that Klingon Dax lady that was there from the very beginning, going back to like I think the Chimera movie, she's in the background. So the future Dax. The future Tamara Tal Dax symbiote thing has been watching the show since the beginning, and she's been in the background. She's been some of the other characters doing the other things. She's been her the whole time. Also, there's other people like Pulaski shows up and Tabby watching the show the whole time. And it's sort of an homage to Mom again, kind of. I mean, not directly, not like silly, like weird, like more like kind of like how they did cameos by your parents in your Samuel Cocking's fan films, or you have cameos by having his dad in there. That's cool. Like I said about the other parody movies, the Mom story, the Legends. When we do these movies, she would be on the set in the background. She would have been there, and she would have been like, presence felt on the set. she would interrupt the blog rants and things and come in, and it would kind of became a gag. Like she would do that on purpose. She would wait until right in the heated point of the blog thing and come in on the review and interrupt the review. As part of that deal. So yeah, so it's here we are in late April, last day of April, I think, the 30th, and yeah, a Chimera film shoot again. It's like, we're desperately trying to get the Star Trek people's attention, I guess. But yeah, yet again. Oh, and the gelatinous breen in that other story. Oh yeah, they have solid form. Like founders. That makes sense though for the breen. Is Tendi a breen then? Is she melting? No, she's not a breen. I thought that would be no, she's not. She's an Orion. She has an ailment that's making her face melt. Because you've never seen any older Orions. Looks like their faces are melting. I just thought that would be funny. And messed up. But yeah, if anybody actually has a face melting condition, or like pattern aphasia or something, we're not making fun of that. We're just saying this character had. Yeah, if anybody has a melting disease, that'd be gross. Like leprosy, kind of. We're not making fun of leprosy. We're making fun of that character's situation, not an airplane. The character's situation. Yeah. So, and she's called Zombie Janeway by Marcy Carter. So if she's a zombie, she would be falling apart. So she's a zombie. Exactly. She's a zombie. She's undead. Let's see what else. The Sailot V and Terry and also you could probably claim. Oh yeah, what about Sailot V being the teacher of the girl? Sailot V doing that, being the teacher, and having her be like special, like she should be retaught. There was an episode of the classic Trek where they did that, where Nomad zapped Uhura and they just retaught her. So yeah, it's fine. Somebody who is illiterate or uneducated or something. They aren't stupid. They're just illiterate, uneducated. Yeah, she can be taught. She has like the ability to learn. Everybody has the ability to learn. But adults is harder than children to learn quickly, languages and such. But yes, and the message of Star Trek is clearly in there. It's clearly a Roddenberry type message. They clearly have to fix things. They go back in time in the story to just after Dax is beamed down to the planet. They don't go back to the beginning of the episode. They don't do that. They don't do all good things in Tapestry. They sort of do kind of Tapestry, kind of. They go back to just after and fix it. After the problem happened and fix it. Yeah, so they don't go all the way back, just mostly. Because apparently, and they had to add that little scene about the future people coming in and going like, oh, that's what was supposed to happen. That part of history was supposed to happen. Javal Tal was supposed to sacrifice himself to become Tamara Tal. So, there we go. And if the fans would like to do a B-Canon Apocrypha and say, like, third host of Javar Tal symbiote is called Tamara Tal, that would be awesome. So, go on. According to this fan film, it's Tamara. Her first name is Tamara. And it's 2406 in the story, so if you want to fix that. Yeah, just a little after the events of Picard Season 3. A couple of years later, 5 years later. And Nog almost died again, heroically, but came back. And we're presuming that because it's after the other stuff happened, I threw in a line with, Kira and them called, and Deep Space Nine is fine. Yeah, because Kira's not dead. No, they fixed that. Timeline she's been restored. Yeah. So this is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster, and it is Saturday, May 4th. 3 days before company arrives. The movie is finished. The fan film is finished. It clocks in at 79 minutes long, which is feature length. Don't need to add anything more. It's fine. It's very tight script. There's no filler. Looking it over, if this is on the end of the making of, so you're going to stick this on the existing making of footage, stick this on the end of that, and then save it with this added extra thing in there. That'd be how you do that. Yeah, don't bother re-rendering the whole thing. Just that. Yeah, so that's on here. Yeah, there's no after party thing on it. It's essentially more of the leftovers from Starship Locations Legacy, like the second one was. It has other stories and ideas. It was a 90-page script, but I think because it had a lot of the female voice sped up Kal Kat voice in it, it was just sped up just a little bit, enough so that it was a little shorter. The narrative works all the way through. The flow works, which is surprisingly well. Silly Kelly story. Silly Kelly's just another one of just me doing it. Yeah, but it's a character. But I give different names to the different editing thing, making it sound totally schizo, but it's not. And so we have. You could add another 3 or 4 minutes on the end, or on the beginning, or on the beginning and the end. I do like how the teaser starts, though. I wouldn't put it in the first 7 or 8 minutes. If you're going to add anything, there was mention of a prisoner who died. There was mention of other people. I think what you would probably, if you wanted to add 8 minutes and make it 90, the 8 minutes would consist of another realm type thing where we're seeing what the bad guys are up to. That would be the thing to do, because the narrative with the good guys works. So let's see what the bad guys are up to. See why their plan isn't working. And yeah, I don't think we're going to necessarily connect it to but you could connect it to the Picard show, where they went to 2024 in Picard show season 2. They went to now, and it would be kind of funny if they did they had a little nod to that in the bad guy realm thing. And that's why Admiral Picard and Janeway are there in the story, because otherwise it does seem a little weird. It's not really a plot hole, but it seems a little weird. They sort of take over the rescue of the ship, along with Jeremy Astor and Kiriyoshi and all that. Yeah, it tried originally to be a story about the girls, Tam and Kestra. It's a Tam episode, Tam and Tam Locarno episode, and all based on the idea of there being that Javan Tall's third symbiote looked like a third host looked a little bit like Ezri Dax. So I thought it'd be kind of funny that it actually is a daughter of Ezri Dax, Ezri Locarno. If she'd married Bashir, she would be Ezri Bashir. She's Ezri Locarno. So yeah, so they're somehow related. Yeah, it's not a Dax symbiote; it's a Locarno symbiote, and that's in the story. C'est la vie being there at the end, that kind of makes sense. There's no problem with that. It is a fan film, but it's a parody, and because it is a parody, so the Q-like goofy stuff that's going on in the other realms is fine. The catfight part is hilarious, especially the outcome. It's probably one of the funniest things we've ever done. And the gag is, of course, that many Star Trek Deep Space Nine fans were disappointed at the finale, and all of my fan films basically riffed on that finale the whole time, off and on through history, and we riffed on it here. The no Kaiwin fight and no Odo changeling, Odo touching the changeling's heart just seemed really lame. And Odo acknowledges in this story, yeah, that was kind of stupid, you know. But yeah, you know, that kind of, and also Bashir comments on the alien motherships, their big old battleships, the dreadnoughts. They're about to, that actually happened on the show. So there's plot holes on the show, big enough to fly one of those things. There were these 2 Jem'Hadar dreadnoughts. They appeared and they were about to blow the Defiant to bits. They cut to commercial, and then when the commercial ended, they're practically down on the planet walking around among the dead. So what happened? Where did those ships go? They were literally forgotten because they ran out of money. They could have filmed a scene of dialogue right after the commercial, saying maybe in the captain's log or something. They could have done something to say like, oh, those ships weren't there. They were illusions or something because they weren't there. They were gone. And that was actually a plot hole. As well as fixing the changeling at the end was also kind of a plot hole. They decided, oh, we want to, so that we can go to the bar and hang out. But this shouldn't be a rant on Deep Space Nine in the finale. It should be a parody spoof of Star Trek, and it's set in the Picard universe, so it has some Picard elements. So, you don't need an additional 7 or 8 minutes, not really. But if you're going to do something real brief, with hardly any edits, just straight through, no edits, throw it in there on the set. And I think something in the villain realm or something in the other realm would be amusing, because they have the Cillians going back and forth and time travelers and stuff. We have versions of Wesley, which Will Wheaton would approve of, because he went on a tirade in one of his Ready Room episodes saying, well, no, I didn't really like it when Jean-Luc Picard told me to shut up all the time. So, yeah, so their plan is silly, but they're pseudo-Cillians. So yeah, like the Transformers 3-part story where we advanced the story into a future they thought was happening in that universe. The Transformers one jumped ahead couple of years and then a couple more years in the next one. This one, so we could show the Robotech people, but it's not really its own timeline, right? Well, in this one, it's just a few hours later to days later, so, and then they go back. They sort of go back to just after Javad Tal was created and just after they were going to find Dax. They sent Dax down to find Nick, so that's what they go back to. Typical of a Next Generation time travel, timey-wimey type episode. Very, very similar to that. Very similar to actually Deep Space Nine one did a couple of those like that. The Visitor and Meridian did something like that, where they went back to a point where the timeline diverged and stopped the divergence. Nah, it's a sci-fi plot. Leave the sci-fi. Anyway, so I've got some little ideas to put in there, but I'm not going to try to force a scene that isn't fluid with the rest of the scenes. Don't do that. So anyway, so that's it on the making of, and there's no after show. There just isn't. And yeah, you watched the episode. That's it. Starship Legacy could continue as the name of the show at some point, doing other episodes. But this was the season finale of this season. And so I know Star Trek Discovery is going on right now, in the middle of that. And we're not going to touch Star Trek Discovery, because it's its own thing. We're not going to touch it. Touched a little lower decks. We decided to write out the Tula Forge girls in the story, because yeah, we decided that the figures didn't look good like that. So yeah, they were actually changelings. Took out the concept. Maybe that's where you could put them on the concept. Have them. Maybe that's where the action is. But it wouldn't fit in the story, really. But yeah, you don't want to do it so it doesn't fit in the story. You want it to be fluid. It's not a reshoot scene, because it's just finished. So it's not technically a reshoot. I guess it kind of would. Sort of. You're not reshooting anything. It's, well, continuity. It's a continuity thing. It's like, do you want to do it or do you not want to do it? Is it too confusing to do it? Should you do it, and where should you do it? Well, don't think it over too hard. Just do something if you want, or as I want, or not. So, yeah. So this is the end of the making of, and yeah. Let's live long and prosper. So what this is, we're not showing this whole thing in this whole room. This is where all the councils went. That's what this is. So yeah, making of and pickup scenes. Yeah, pickup scene. So, and it's going to be all one shot, improvised all the way down. So let's do it. Okay, we need
Maybe this coffee cup. Maybe the coffee cup. Yeah. The old coffee cup. No? Too.
I realize that story-wise, yeah, you could say like, oh, it's a few hours later. No, it's not. It's minutes later. Seconds almost. Less than a minute later. Decided that since that scene where Picard and Janeway appear is literally the midpoint of the story, and all of the rest of the story works, put this right in the middle of the story. Right smack in the middle. Right before Picard and Janeway show up and they're in the council thing. So that's where you would put a scene. You would have a scene, an 8-minute scene where the villains are dealing with what's going on, and that's why they're. Yeah, so it's going to be some of the villains, and it probably doesn't concern our main crew so much as the villains, because kind of establishing there. Okay, why is time traveling Kestra there, and she's suddenly a Borg? What happened there? Yeah, what happened with that? Yeah, yeah, that would be a plot hole. So you could put it right there where that is. It's not technically a plot hole. It's sort of a convenience. It's sort of confusion. Yeah, that's where you want to put that. And yeah, this is the end of the making of again. Anyway, so yeah, do that. It's raining anyway. I don't know why it's raining on the, Anyway, so this is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster, and this is a real brief closure to making of this film, of Yesterday Became Tomorrow. That just ends with me sort of going on about this scene that's blocked, and we filmed it. They basically, because there's two big 45-minute acts, right, in one of these things. So there's 3 acts, technically. There's 3 half-hour acts. You do a 90-minute story. Or it's 2 45-minute segments. It's thus the typical Star Trek 6-act play with doing commercial breaks, but it's not in particular order. It's not rendered that way. But yeah, it's basically 2 45-minute segments. The 8 minutes was added to, not as filler, but as important information to the first part of the whole thing, the first 45 minutes, to bring it up to 45 minutes. Well, roughly 43 and a half. And then the other half is another 43 and a half. That's a little short. It's 85 minutes long, roughly. It's 85, 86 minutes. And that's fine. Like the Transformer one, I think that was a little short. That's fine. 79 was a little short. So, but it needed to be there, because you get to the part where Picard is in the realm thing, and he's been trapped with Janeway, and the bad guy's there, and you're trying to figure out, like, how did he get there? He just said he was in a council chamber. Why not show the council chamber? So what I did is I filmed 8 minutes in the council chamber. Showed who was in the council chamber. It was some of the Wessians and Qs and Shadow Dancer and everybody. If it's inconsistent with the minister who appeared earlier, it's another Shadow Dancer. Well, that happened to be there. The minister didn't say that he was Shadow Dancer. It was just the same figure. And the 2 Wesleys are there to indicate, okay, good, red shirt Wesley, maybe good, maybe not. And black shirt Wesley, maybe good, maybe not. There was nothing about Borg Kestra at all in there. I decided it would just be the males, the guys, just going on about the council about to be taken. And then show the council being taken. The show don't tell that. And yeah, they get taken. So weird stuff is going on. And Q is there too. And the ethereal Garrick is, the other Garrick is there. So we have that going on. We have Q and Garrick talking briefly. We get Lucky Clerk and Picard talking to each other, which is funny. We get a brief nod to Cristobal Rios talking there. From 2024, he was left in the past. They went and got him, so now he's back. It's 2024. And now they just immediately got him and said, okay, the one that was left behind with Guinan was a clone. They didn't say that in the story, but that's the implication, is that it's a shapeshifter on the story. The universe is all messed up in the story, and I didn't go over the story, and I didn't want to go over too much detail on that. So, yeah, I didn't need to. There's enough here. It follows a story arc. It's fine. It works. It's making up, but the furnace kicked on, and but it doesn't matter. I'm loud. So we have the basically characters going on an adventure involving Q, and the sort of a pseudo mirror universe. It's kind of a reflection of the other one, the one where they met the other Romulan lady. It's not supposed to be the same lady. It's not supposed to be that Romulan Elijah. It's a different one. It's a different one than that one. It's not supposed to necessarily be the lost children from the planet that have now grown up. But the other Josh Braun was a little cringed, as the kids would say. So, it's kids. To have Josh Braun, dead guy from 40 years ago, in the story. So he's basically in the realm. Cisco's in the realm. They need to use a wormhole to get to the wormhole. That's fine. There don't seem to be any problems with what he filmed, what we put together. And I'm going to end it here. And yeah, there will probably be other Starship location stories in the future. This is merely the one for a little while. For a little while, there'll be a little hiatus until we've come up with something else. We did 3 Transformers ones and now 3 Star Trek ones. Did 2 Star Trek ones. We did 1 Star Trek one, stopped and did 3 Transformers ones. Went back and did the last 2 Star Trek ones. This one's not really based on Mom's journals or anything. And that poem is a misreading of another poem by someone else. So it's okay. We don't need to give them credit because it's completely wrong. It's not how the poem goes. So it's fine. So I put that joke in there too. Actually, the Shadow Dancer and Cyrano almost say the real poem, and they're trying to remember it from memory and say the real one. It's kind of funny. So yeah, and that happens later. That Kestra figures out the lyrics to the poem that she heard from Deanna Troi, her mother, and she here says the poem that helps the timeline somehow to rectify itself. We did not use Kestra as we could have, or Tam as we could have, but it's a Tam episode. It's a bottle show, but occasionally they go down to a planet. But it's mainly a bottle show. There's not a lot of special effects, not a lot of space battle. It's mostly an espionage, mystery, figure things out that are happening weird out in space thing, using footage from the earlier Chimera shows. You probably will recognize it. Anyway, so, but yeah, the 2 problematic characters were removed, the ones from the concept. So we have models and ships and planets can always come back and do more at some point. So other things going down, and so we're going to do that. The channel is not done. That's not one of those Matt Pat things. It's not done. No. Kal Kat YouTube channels. We'll be doing this stuff until we get thousands of subscribers again. Someday millions. We'll be on YouTube until YouTube goes out. I think we're just going to be doing YouTube. Well, that guy's still there. Why is he still there? And these younger people got no stamina. There's some other younger ones on there. They're like, no, we don't want to. I have to leave. It's too hard to burn out and everything. It's like, you do? Oh, that's too bad. No. Oh. I must produce and create things. I must create. Let's keep going. Let's create. Love the craft for the love of the craft. Yeah, it's like, just do it. If it's fun, do it. Not if it's a hassle, don't do it. But it's fun, do it. As long as it's legal and all that. Yeah, the YouTube channel and all the directions. Yeah, so it's been fun doing this story. We rushed out we didn't rush it out, but we kind of wanted to do it in the last week before the company shows up for the wake. Celebration of Life service of Mom. And we wanted to do that. And I just wanted to rush out into the movie. It seemed like the right thing to do, and I think it went well, and it's very funny. It's very funny. Most of my stuff is very funny. At least I think so. And the ones that detract from that and say like, "Oh, not funny," well, their kind of humor is different. So, mine is more quirky and the nose humor and kind of goofy. And my humor tends to not punch down on the others. Yeah. Occasionally it will humiliate the individual actor character's stories, but that's the extent of it. Or the cue will annoy them or something. But it's that kind of humor. That's more like, yeah, it's kind of goofy and silly. The silly things are happening. And also, to reference someone will probably ask it someone. So but you made Tamara more cisgendered than she was. She was originally transgendered, and as a character, she was a transgendered, and she originally was they or them, and the whole transgender thing. Well, I just didn't really establish that very well, so I just kind of dropped it and said, well, it kind of doesn't work. Also, because the people that Kestra and Tam are based on are reversed in real life. The inspiration for them is reversed. It's actually the other one. The Kestra character should be the one that's transgender. So I figured they're probably in the future they're gender fluid anyway, because they're in space and half the guys in it are Quark and Odo would profess their love for each other. Picard and Q kind of do. We got and Crass and Mahoney. They finally get married. They profess their love. It's the end of their story arc, really. Now what are you gonna do? And then the other timeline, and the whole Tam thing. Tam gets a symbiote. Now that she has a symbiote, the symbiote is a male. So where he was in the past life. So they just refer to her as her female counterpart just to be different. And at one point he refers to her as Mr. Tao. Nob refers to her as Mr. Tao. So she's still transgendered. It's just they don't discuss it because they don't need to, because it's not important. It's not a defining characteristic of her character. It's there, but it's not a defining characteristic. Yeah, and as for the Locarnos disappearing and whatever, we're really not that butthurt about like Lower Decks doing its own thing, because technically Lower Decks is silly Trek anyway, and technically they can do whatever they want. It's a cartoon, and it's not really canon. It shouldn't be. It's maybe canon with Star Trek the Animated Series a little bit, but it's not really canon at all with the other stuff. Even the short treks, animated treks, those things, the very short treks, weren't really canon, even though they were Paramount. Those were weird. Those were very silly Trek-like too. I had nothing to do with the very short treks at all. With me. In conclusion about all the other characters and things, they could always come back. It's a multiverse. They can do whatever. They can have another crew and another ship. Originally, the plan in the first movie was it's all going to take place on the Starship San Jose. But then when Queen Bee production closed down after the Transformer stuff, it was all me anyway, so it really wasn't a studio. And when Queen Bee closed down, we're going to reopen it as On Location Cats and finish the Star Trek Legacy stories. Mark's Cards and I discussed finishing those two stories. We had one script, and we said, okay, we'll do a second one. We have an idea. We're going to do a second one and do that. And we did the second one and liked it so much that story arc pieces of it were so, and it doesn't matter that the thing just turned off. It's just making of. And so we liked it so much that we're like, oh, there's enough stuff here for another 90-minute story. So we came up with another 90-minute story. Dealing with the threads of plot that had been left behind. Succeeded in doing 6 45-minute episodes basically this season, or three 90-minute movies basically. Just shy of 90 minutes from the last one, and that's perfectly fine. That's a lot. Usually regular production stuff with a cast and a staff and all that, they're usually like, oh, this will take several weeks to make this fan film movie. It's like, no, the Kal Kat fan film was like, okay, we have a script. We're going to write a script in 2 days. Here's a script. Boom. We're gonna go from there we're gonna do like an episode of Star Trek, typical of Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and Voyager back in the day. 8-day shooting schedule from beginning of writing the script to filming the show. They're filming the show by the middle of the week. They've filmed all the scenes by the end of the week. They're putting it together and editing in the weekend. And it's ready for next week. By Sunday, it's ready to go. So, and then it airs on like the weekend, during the week. 7 or 8 day schedule. Just about an 8-day schedule. They line up a bunch of them and film them all back to back and put them out. That was back when they had episodes of Star Trek that had seasons that were 26 episodes long, 22 to 26 episodes. Now seasons are only 10. So yeah, the new one, Discovery, is going to be over in just a couple episodes because it's only got 10. Yeah, and there was loosely a plan to say, okay, Star Trek Discovery is going on right now. Are we going to do any crossover with this? No, we did not. There was the end of Destinies. We had a thing about a future timeline where they're on the old bridge because we weren't going to do any more after that. We were done with Destiny. We were done. We weren't going to do any more. Sure. 6 months ago, we're done. We're not going to do any more. But no, it's like, yeah, no, we're going to do more. And that's what we ended up. So that whole story where Adira Tall is reading about her ancestor going on the bioship and all that, and somehow centuries passed between host number 3 and host number 5. Just centuries, and she's host number 7 because she got the Tal symbiote, so she's 7. So the Admiral guy was 6 or 5. And yeah, there was like a gap between the Admiral and they said there was generation shift. It's because they screwed up adding up the adding. They screwed it up. It's 800 years from 24 when we had host number 2, Java Tall. So host number 2 there. When did host number 3 happen? Must have been right afterward, and then must have been hundreds of years. So that's what we did. Oh yeah. So we did that, and yeah, she's not cis. She's still multi-sex because all Trill are multi-sex. All Trill. Also with that scene that was added to not added, but important to the end of part 1, but middle of Act 2, part 1, 45 minutes in or so, establishes that some of the good guys and bad guys are in the council chamber and they're doing something in there and they're getting sucked out. And no, the Borg lady wasn't involved, and neither was the Riker or the other guy, but the other ones were. And so that had to be in there because you have a show that's trying to avoid narrating a bunch of stuff and having a bunch of logs saying, oh, a lot of this stuff happened here and here and here. And that's how to do it. You put them in a room and you have them sort of say, oh, we're going to go over here, and the villain's over there, and we're going to talk about here's the other guy we're going to talk to, and we're going to figure things out, and Q's going to figure things out, and then the scene ends. It's not how you do it in a Zack Snyder film where they're just espousing character bios in a room. That is not how you do that scene. If you want to have characters express their character bios, they don't go to in a mead hall and just talk about their character bio. They show, not tell, what they're about. It isn't enough to have fighting character or whatever, to show what they're about. That was one of the problems with Kira Nerys as a character on Deep Space Nine, is they wrote her as this badass freedom fighter and rarely gave her the opportunity to just haul off and just deck someone. She never did that. And although violence is not the answer, but the Romulan lady points out that sometimes it is. But yes, the idea was that us fans for years of DS9 and Voyager grew up on Next Generation. I grew up on Next Generation. Mark Scars grew up on Next Generation. He's a little younger. I guess I'm a little older than Will Wheaton, it turns out. But the same age as Shannon Phil and Robbie McNeil is actually quite a bit older, because he's a lot older. He really shouldn't have been in the academy at all, unless he was taking medical training or something. He should have been done already, but for some reason he's still there, or one of the teachers. Robbie McNeil. But I wasn't there at the Academy of nothing. But I was the same age as Ed Wilby. And Aaron Eisenberg and all that. Aaron Eisenberg was a little younger. So we have we have the characters doing their thing, and we have so what I was getting at is Kira Nerys never got to kick butt, and it's a travesty of the show that she never got to kick Kai Wynn's butt. Clearly she wanted to kick her ass, but no, then we're gonna write the ending of this so Cisco and Ducat and Kai Wynn and some other person fight Kai Wynn down in the cave, and Kira and them are over in the Cardassian planet fighting over there for some reason. Because they couldn't figure out how to put those people in the same place. This story figures out how to put the people in the same place. It ain't that hard. I write that. Also, the joke early on in the story was like, okay, how can we get Kira to fight? I get an idea. Why don't we kill her? So she goes to the afterlife, and Kai Wynn is there because the Cisco put her in the afterlife, right? So he's like, yes, forgiveness, the afterlife, and yes, Kai Wynn is here, by the way, or something like that, And then she says, good, now I can kick her butt. And that's her dying wish is to literally go kick her butt. So she goes to kick her butt. But of course, as a former martial artist for 18 years of black belt and all that, I couldn't have it end with them just kicking each other's butt and being ragged and lying on the ground. It had to end with them learning that was a dumb idea all along to do that, but they did it. So neither of them learned much of anything after the sparring match, but they do learn that it got kind of exhausting, and it wasn't so much fun to beat each other up as it was to think about wanting to beat each other up. And that's how you end the scene, because you have you can't go anywhere from there. You can't just have them hate each other for all eternity, which is a very man cisgendered thing. If it was two ladies, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. If it's two ladies, they would be still going off in the afterlife for real, But guys are like, okay, let's get this over with. Beat each other up. Okay, I beat up the bully. He's done. Yeah, this was kind of stupid. Let's go get some pizza or something, a beer, or a beer or something. That'd be the end of it. But with ladies, no, that they're thinking revenge. Yeah, Khan shouldn't have been wanting revenge. He should have been like, oh, yeah, unless he was jealous. He wanted Kirk. That's what I figured. He wanted Kirk. That's why he had that long flowing gray hair and everything. He's like, I did this hair for you, Captain Kirk. Oh my God, Khan's in love with me. Well, that could be an entirely different thing. No, we're not doing that. But no, so there was never going to be a cameo with. I have a Saru and an action figure, and I have a Freeman action figure, but I wasn't ever going to have them cross over, or not Freeman, Burnham action figure. I'm not going to. I wasn't going to put them in here. That would have been weird. The newer ones don't look quite the same anyway. So yeah, they're okay, but I didn't want to. That would have been confusing if somebody from hundreds of years later just shows up. Better to just have the time travelers be other versions. It's also cool that you got to see Dulmer and Luxley going through, and they were in the scene in the middle of the story too. Because it's like, oh, okay, they're there and they're doing stuff, and actually it's a flashback to that other scene where they show Dulmer and Luxley in the background during that other story when we began the series, and he's in the background. So that wasn't really Nick Locarno or Tom Paris, even though it's a Tom Paris figure, with the blue shirt. It was one of the time traveler guys. And all the way back to the series, the Klingon garbed Dax, is actually the future Tamara Taylor. She's been there the whole time. She was on a Klingon ship during the Klingon stories, way back when. So it's like, oh, wow, she's been hanging around doing all kinds of stuff. But yeah, so that's kind of cool. Oh, yeah, I could look that up. But yeah, it's not nearly as convoluted as the Transformer one, where we wrote ourselves into a corner with episode 2 making it several years later in order to make Dana old enough to be in the story and go to the Robotech planet. She had to be old enough to go to the Robotech mission, so they made her older. And then later on, they're even older than that. And then they had to retcon that to make it say, no, they were really not really in the future. They just thought they were. Go back. And this one, I think it's a better version of that kind of idea where the time travel is not that far off in the future. And I think I've already gone over some of that. But now, reflecting on it after watching the movie in its entirety, yeah, it works surprisingly well as a fan film. Also, a shout out to the Trek Yards fan film guys that have made some fun short fan films, including that hilarious the Cerritos Lost short fan film with Samuel Hawking's girlfriend and his father. Nepotism, of course, in the show. I don't know if it's girlfriend or fiance or something, but anyway, she was the main character in it, and there was a computer voice guy, and they did the evil computer story taking over the ship. Pretty good rendering of the Cerritos Bridge in live action as well. Yeah, they rendered it in live action. I'm thinking they used a green screen and some chairs and stuff that they set up. And they had like a green screen, and they sort of projected them on the back of it. I think that's how they did that. My guess is that. And they just replaced the background with the live action bridge. Of course, Cockings and Captain Foley are 3D artists, so they were able to do all that. So yeah, I also catch the nods to the Star Trek Online in the story when they say, oh, they're trying to do like Star Trek Online because 2406 is supposed to be a Klingon war with the Federation in Star Trek Online, which is not really canon, but sort of is because some of the ships appear later in the show. But that's also problematic because those ships are supposed to be 10 years from then, or even 15 years from then. They wouldn't have the Odyssey class Enterprise F yet. It shouldn't be commissioned yet, but they've already screwed that up, and now the Enterprise F and the Enterprise G is now the Enterprise. But yeah, so it sort of fudged that. But yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of it. I'm gonna ramble on for another thing and make this way too long for the making of. But I like long making of footage. I like to watch I like to give the fans like this is an old-fashioned Blu-ray disc, and there's just a lot of extras on the Blu-ray disc. No bloopers though. I know the fans ask for bloopers, but there aren't any bloopers. When we do these movies, I rarely do a funny blooper where I'm like laughing at something that happened. It just rarely happens. It's that focused. The camera fell a couple times off the little pedestal, and it's like, that was it. It's not exciting. It's not funny. Flubbed a line. No, let's just do that over. No, stuff like that. It's already funny. It doesn't need. Yeah. So it was a silly Kelly movie, again, and yeah. So, but done. No, for now. For now. Transform your adventure and engage. And also a nod to Discovery. In that Nog says, "Let's go fast" at one point. There's a nod. So let's go fast. So is he copying Burnham from the 2250s, who used to say that? Yes. But he's also copying. Yes, yeah, and Pike from the 2260s. So he is copying that. He's not copying them. He's copying the 2260s because it would be canon. Anyway. So, yeah. There you go. Your moment of and there are always possibilities, as Spock said. Make more of them somehow, somewhere. I think since you did 2 bottle shows in a row, you're probably going to want to do a planet one if you do one next. Have them get on a planet somewhere. It's also funny that with our Trends Tech things that we found a lot of those planet pictures of the big blue planet with the rings and all that has appeared on since then after we did it first on several space shows on the internet. Just freeware in the background. Yeah, we had it first. It's free, so got it too. It looked very cool. So yeah, Phantoma, the planet Phantoma, is what we called it. It wasn't called that there, though. It was called Blue Saturn or something. Anyways, yeah, or it wasn't Navi though. It wasn't the planet in Avatar. Yeah, it wasn't that. It wasn't supposed to be that. So yeah, Star Trek. Yeah, Chimera. Reset. So the events of Taramar Atoll on clearly a different bridge, saying that what was in the Fleet Museum, way off 1,800 years in the future, 800 years in the future, can be explained in that that version of the Chimera that they have saved in the library is merely an earlier version of it. That's all. They have an earlier version of it. They made it look like the Chimera from the end of 2401 to celebrate Federation Day or something. Yeah. So that's what that is. So it still could be canon with that universe and that timeline, and they'd have to find another generation ship to be on, but they can find one. Or maybe the timeline's corrected. Because yeah, they did go back to they might have corrected it. So put everything back. Also, what's kind of messed up is apparently Muriel shot and killed the bad guy that was going to launch the whole thing in the other timeline because she was given foreknowledge at the end. So essentially, the bad guy is going to start her evil plan and is immediately blown away, probably not realizing, hey, what was going on? I was going to do my evil plan. And also, did you catch that most of the villains weren't in the ethereal realm? Somewhere else. Anyway, so that's the end of that. And live long and prosper. And keep looking up Trek. Yeah, so Trek.